Hello everyone. We're really glad to have you with us today to inform you more about the Prince Albert Fund. Welcome to this information session. We're really happy that you're here because we think it's an amazing experience, as you can see from the smiley faces of young alumni. So great that you're interested in this, and we'll hope to convince you to try your chance and apply this year. A brief overview of the agenda. It'll be an introduction to PAF. After about 2 minutes, we'll discuss the participating companies and alumni. So if you want to move on this video, feel free to. After about 5 minutes, we'll discuss the required qualifications and selection criteria. And we'll end with the application process and the next steps at about minute 8. So a very brief introduction to give you a few information about our history. We were created in '84. We're about to exist for 40 years now. And since the very beginning, we've been giving a grant to young people who want to develop their international careers so that they can have a 1-year assignment for a Belgian company outside Europe. The purpose, of course, is to give a boost to young professionals and as well, of course, to develop Belgian enterprises in their international endeavors. We are a non-profit organization. We were funded jointly by the King Baudouin Foundation and VBO-FEB, the Belgian Business Organization. And purpose, as I just said, is really to help young Belgians, but as well help companies grow. As you can see, a quote from UCB, for instance, or a large biopharma company here in Belgium, who has been onboarding Prince Albert Fund candidates for many years now, and are always super excited to have them join their organization. A brief glimpse on recent companies that have worked with PAF. As you can see, we have companies in very different sectors, heavy industry, the more digital ones. We have startups, we have large groups, we have pharma companies, we have companies in the food sector, really all kind of companies. And you're, of course, very open to convince any Belgian company you might know and you would like to work with to work with us and to join the PAF community. A few words about our alumni so that you can see what they have to say about PAF. There's many more on our website, so do not hesitate to go there. Jonathan De Smet, he went to Chile for L'Ouest in 2018. He's actually still in Chile now. And as you can see, he says, like, for the first time ever, the way I resolve daily problems had huge implications on the balance sheet, which was a very interesting experience for him. And he's actually still in Chile working for L'Ouest after his PAF year. Saskia Schatteman went to Hong Kong in '93 for what was then Kraft Jacobs Sucher. And she were there to launch some Côte d'Or brands there. She's now the CEO of VAR and is super convinced that PAF gave her a solid foundation, as she says, for a future career in international business that she managed very successfully. Thibaut Jonker, he went to the USA in 2013, where the objective was to develop master cell. He's now the CEO of Exoterra. And as he says, in my PAF project, I constantly had to adapt to changing circumstances, which is inherent to an entrepreneurial approach. And it has become part of who I am today. And thanks to PAF, I have become a real entrepreneur. Laura Dirk, who went to the USA in 2016 to launch Data Camp there. And she now works as a data science strategist still in New York. Says that thanks to her PAF project, she built an extremely valuable network in the fast-growing and booming data science industry. This is just a few examples of what alumni have to say, but overall they will all tell you how life-changing this experience was and how much it was worth the efforts. So the big question, I guess, the reason why you're here today is, do I meet the requirements, and is PAF something for me? So what are the basic criteria? You need to be a Belgian citizen or domiciled in Belgium for at least 5 years. You need to be maximum 30 years old, meaning that if you apply this year, as of November 21, you need to be born after Jan 1st, 92. You need to have a master's degree as well. It doesn't need to be a master's degree in business, but of course you need to have a keen interest in business, because PAF is about developing business. You need as well to have a minimum of 2 years of professional experience, meaning again that if you apply this year, you need to have started working no later than the summer 2020, which means that by December 22, you will have your 2 years of professional experience. And it is at that moment that you can start your PAF year if you were selected this year. And then, of course, you need to be fluent in English. Needless to say that English is the international business language, and that you will need to master it well to be selected. So what will the jury look for when they will read through your files and interview you? Of course, the main aspect will be your personality. Are you a driven person? Are you having an entrepreneurial mindset? Do you have charisma? Will you be able to convince that you're the right person for this? Are you an open-minded person? Are you flexible? Can you adapt to a different culture? And how will you handle the cultural differences that you will be faced with? And of course, it's important for us that you're a team player and that someone who can join a team and work together with your teammates. Your past achievements, of course, are important as well, because they will inform the jury about what you've been doing with your life up till now. They will look at a track record of excellence, of course, in your studies and in the work you've been doing, but as well youth activities count, or any sports activities or voluntary work that you have done in the past. All those things will be considered by the jury members to assess your achievements. Of course, they want as well to know if you're able to learn from your mistakes. As you know, that's an important element, and how resilient you are. And then your interest and your affinity for working in business will, of course, be key, because as we said, you don't need to have a business degree, but you have to have a keen interest in business. To give you an example, we regularly have architects or doctors applying, for instance, but of course not to work as an architect or a doctor abroad, but to work in the construction sector or in the medical sector, where this diploma might be an asset, but in a business development role. Your motivation is another key aspect for the jury members. They want to know how much you want this and how likely you are to take the grant if you should receive it, and how you can justify the difference that will make on your career. So the expected impact of the grant on your career is another important aspect, and how you plan to contribute to society at large is something that you will have to explain to the jury members as well. What's the application process? It's quite simple. It's in 3 steps. You have to apply on the website of the King Baudouin Foundation no later than January 10th, 2022. If you're applying for this session, the applications open mid-November, so you have a big 2 months to fill in your file. You can start the application whenever you want, leave it unfinished. It will only be sent to us once you push the send button, so feel free to take the time to fill it in and correct it as many times as you want. We will only receive it once it's final. The second step then, if you have sent your application before January 10th, is the pre-selection. Be careful, I'm worried about January 10th. It's January 10th at midnight, and we make no exceptions to that. So be prepared and try not to send your application on the last minutes, because if your computer crashes, if you have any connection issues, whatever, we won't take your application into consideration. So don't leave it to the last minute, and send it at least a few days before, so you're fully safe on the technical side. So once your file has been received, the first step is pre-selection. So your file will be assessed by 4 members of the jury who will be reading it carefully and assessing you on the criteria that we've just been discussing. No feedback will be given at this stage. There's too many of you applying and we don't have enough feedback to inform you properly. And about 75 candidates will be selected out of those who applied, and those 75 will then be invited to the jury. The jury will take place next year on March 18th, 2022. It's in Brussels and you need to come in person. So if for any reason you already know that you will be traveling or will be abroad or not be able to be in Brussels on March 18th, don't apply this year, leave it for next year. And then we'll have up to 30 grants available that we will give to the 30 candidates that the jury were most convinced of. So how does that happen? You will receive a time slot about 2 weeks before March 18th. We need to have the time to read all the files and pre-select them. So you will know somewhere in the early days of March if you can come to the interviews on March 18th. And how will the day of the interview be organized? You will receive a time slot where you need to come to the jury. And when you arrive, you'll have 1 hour to prepare a business case. The idea of the jury is not to check whether you're a number crunchy engineer, but rather to find out what your business acumen is and how you handle business situations. And then after you have been preparing this business case, you will have a time slot of about 25 minutes with the jury members, where you will first answer the business case, and then there will be another 15 minutes devoted to your personality, your achievements, your motivation that the jury members will discuss with you. If you're selected, you will know rapidly after that, a few days after, no later than March 23rd, if you're selected. And then, of course, we will provide feedback to the rejected candidates, and we provide a substantial feedback because we receive it from the jury members who were attending your interview. So if you're selected, you will have to attend the leadership training. The dates are set already for next year. So again, pencil them down in your agenda if you're planning to attend, because they're really mandatory. They're really important for you to get the right information about the program, the right skills, and as well the opportunity to bond with your colleagues selected as well. As you see, this year we had to do it with masks. Hopefully next year we will be mask free and we'll be able to have it in a more nice environment. But the dates are set April 22nd and 23rd and May 20th. Those 3 days are mandatory. It's 2 times a Friday and a Saturday. And we want you to be there if you're selected for the grant. How does that happen once you're selected for the grant? It's only at that moment actually that you have to select a project. So no need for you to have decided about a project before applying to PAF. Because we often hear candidates saying, I don't dare apply because I don't have a company in mind, or that doesn't matter. Of course, you'll be more convincing to the jury if you say what you have in mind and what kind of project really interests you, but you don't have to have a precise project before applying. It's only once you have applied, once you have followed the training, and once we will organize actually a speed dating meeting with all the companies interested in hiring a candidate, that you will have to start thinking about a specific project. Your specific project needs to be for a Belgian company. It needs to be an entrepreneurial project. It's all about business development, as we said before. It needs to be outside the EU. And then, of course, UK and Switzerland are not eligible. You need to go a little further, and it needs to be a project for 12 months. So it's not about an internship. It's really about undertaking a real project and a substantial one. And as I just said, if you don't have a project in mind, we can propose one, because every year we're contacted by several companies super interested in hiring a PAF candidate, and they submit us projects, so we will have plenty of possibilities to offer. So what are the obligations of the company? They need to provide you with a challenging and, of course, a fulfilling project. The idea is that you really develop your career and yourself during that PAF year. They have to provide you internal support, of course. It's not about just like throwing you somewhere unknown and not taking care of you for the full year. You need to have a proper support to make your assignment a success. And of course, there is costs linked to that. They don't have to pay your salary. As we said, the grant is to some extent your salary, but they have to pay for all costs. So housing costs, meaning is the main one, as well transportation costs, bring you there and bring you back. Also, of course, all the costs linked to your mission and to your assignment. Do you need to attend trade fairs? Do you need to travel to meet with potential clients? All those costs are, of course, taken care of by the company. And as well, they have to pay an administrative fee to the Prince Albert Fund. There's more about that on our website, and we'll have plenty of time to discuss that during the training sessions. What's your status during your assignment? You will be considered for the Belgian state as a student. So you're not building any pension plans, no vacation credits, know that. The grant is tax-free as well. And you have to keep a residence in Belgium to benefit from social security. That's an important one as well. We will provide you with an additional health insurance for all medical costs that you will or you would have abroad during your PAF stay, but you need to stay connected to your local social security. And then a few tips from the former cohorts and saying, well, think twice before you apply, because as we said, you need to start your project if you apply this year between September 22 and Jan 23. If you can't start your project between that moment, you lose your grant. We make no exceptions to that. So if for any professional or personal reasons, you cannot start a project at that moment and jump internationally, don't apply this year and wait for next year. And then before applying, of course, make sure you're ready for the adventure. We hear from the candidates that finding a project takes time. So don't underestimate that. If you have a heavy workload, it really takes time to find the right project for you. Know as well that there's no such thing as an ideal project. You will have to keep a flexible outlook if you want to go abroad. We've had in the past some people that are have a very, very specific project in mind, country, company, destination, and that makes it really a little difficult for them to find a project. And then it happens that they decide not to pursue the opportunity, which is a pity. So apply with an open mind. And then another issue that we see more and more coming up is the issue of dual careers. Of course, if you have a girl or boyfriend, it's a good idea to discuss that with him or her and make sure that you're ready for this experience, either together or separately, but it will have impacts, of course. Know as well that visas can be tricky, and even more so now in COVID times. Some countries do not open, some countries open with very strict conditions, and some countries give visas even in non-COVID times. It's really difficult to obtain your visa. So again, be open to different countries and different opportunities, because it won't be possible to enter just any country you would like to. So there's a few takeaways that we hear from previous candidates. So if you think you qualify and you're interested in this, please apply. do not hesitate to go to our website. You will have plenty more testimonials and more information. If anything isn't clear, you can always reach out to us. But our website should give you already quite some information. And if you would like to apply, don't forget January 10th is the ultimate date to hand in your file if you apply this year. Both Anneke and myself, I'm Anne-Catherine Chevalier, I forgot to introduce myself, are taking care of the fund within the King Baudouin Foundation. You can reach out to us either by mail or by phone if you still have questions after this session. And then, well, we hope to have convinced you of starting a PAF year and at least applying this year so that you can discover new horizons and start a real new adventure. Thanks a lot for listening to this and best of luck with your application. Thank you. Bye.